Hi, my name's Jonathan. Welcome to the Haystack. So, this is going to be a weird one. Okay, so just putting it out there, it's going to be pretty goofy. I'm talking about UFOs, UAPs. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff they went over with the congressional hearing, and I'm going to go over all the different subsets of theories and thoughts out there in the narrative that is trying to be given to us, and may not be true. I'm gonna tell you all the different things. Doesn't necessarily mean I endorse any of it. Anyways, if you haven't heard, all the UAP, that's unidentified aerial phenomenon, that's to replace UFO, to take away the stigma. Like UFO has been stigmatized, right? Now the whole point of this introduced a couple things. So you have naval intelligence that had their hearing. You have a bunch of whistleblowers, other people who have been read in on the top secret clearance. But ultimately, more and more of this stuff is getting out, and it's got to the point where they are saying that they want to destigmatize it, so pilots can speak more openly about these things, and to bring it to the forefront of our national security and pilot safety. They want pilots and people to feel more accustomed to that. So they talked about different ideas and thoughts, or coming up with a solution of how military can do that, but also, right now they do have military and air traffic control, which already, that's the information, that's the stuff that they're talking about. Those are the things that they're investigating, not so much civilian interactions. So there's been some talk about introducing ways for civilians to do that. Thing is that civilians aren't vetted or accredited through any kind of system. Here they actually have their own people they go through, and they just say, okay, debrief with our security person, our intel guy, and they'll give them your information, they'll follow up with you. But here's the thing is, it's bipartisan. So you have Republicans and Democrats coming together. And so this is a very good thing that you're actually seeing with this. But at the same time, I want to just highlight some things here. Because yes, it is good that we're being peaceful and cooperative. Thing is watching this was the most cooperative I've ever seen politicians be with one another. Now, they tear each other apart over religion, they tear each other apart over politics, they tear each other apart over any bit of legislation. Here, none of them have a dog in the fight, and so they're actually serving a purpose. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you could see a clear distinction of what public servants do when they're acting as public servants. Now, the caution. It's good to come together. It's good to have peaceful discourse. It was the first time AOC, it was the first time she didn't seem just inept. Let's go with that. It was the first time she made any bit of sense. And they were talking about aliens. So, I mean, let that sink in. Again, this is something that they highlighted at the beginning and at the end of these debriefings and these hearings, was that this is a bipartisan effort. People are working cooperatively together. So it's not God that's bringing people together, it's aliens, all right? So some of the things that people are weary, there's many Christians out there say, those aliens that they're talking about, they're demons, right? Now, these guys are saying that they have recovered craft, they have recovered biologicals from craft that are non-human, They remark that we know that some of it is not from our adversaries, known adversaries. We communicate with some people, but not everybody. We do know that they're really wanting to paint it in such a way that it sounds like aliens, right? In fact, that guy, Giorgio, what's his name? The big hair, Ancient Aliens guy, he actually put something out, I think it was today, and I think it was like, told you so. It was pretty hilarious. But you have people looking at the alien situation. So what are they? So far we've heard from a few people who have talked about it and said that there's two types. There is man-made reconstructions of recovered craft and reversed engineered technology, and it's a black budget, dark operation that is unlawful, harms American citizens, tortures, kills, murders, kidnaps, extorts all those American citizens, and that this is very dangerous. Some others have linked it up with human trafficking of children too. But then there's the other one. The other one is the real aliens. And they say that they caution about calling it alien because they say, well, it could just simply be transdimensional, astrophysical. So there's a biological aspect and there's astrophysical aspect to these things. And what they claim the real aliens are is non-physical. So there's two types. I'm trying to take in all the different briefings and all the different things that people have said, and then there's a whole bunch that they cannot talk about in public, which they're going to reveal in a closed session, which to me it just, what that means is it sounds like they're trying to get reinforcement for more funding towards military, because a huge takeaway they had was, this is a bipartisan effort, we're coming together, this is a good job. Also, we're identifying that these things are a national security threat, and we need to be very concerned about it. But part of those questions that they asked was, hey, do these things pose a threat? Yeah, it poses a possible threat. Okay, you've encountered these, yeah. Yes. Okay, do you feel like if it were to engage with you, would you have been able to outmaneuver or be able to competently fight with it? And they're like, no. They say that it goes from one place to another, as if like you're on a computer and you're moving your mouse in all these different spaces, and there's no consequences of inertia or physics as we understand them. There have been people like Dr. Greer, who seems to know everything about it and have experiences himself, and whether that's real, made up, or part of a counter movement, or whether he's actually been visited by some false angel or something, who knows? I guess we'll soon find out. But we do know that Satan is heightening his power to the greatest amount, the greatest ability he can. We do know that there's globalists with a social agenda that are doing every shot they can from every angle, because nationalist socialism didn't work. And it's because people held on to that culture. They held on to their churches. They held on to, their age groups, the national sovereignty. They held on to different things. So national socialism didn't really work, especially for that group back in Germany a while back. But a global socialism, there's no escaping that. And you control what everybody does. And right now you have people doing retinal scans for part of a financial system. You have a financial credit system out in China, all this stuff. So all these conspiracy theory things people are worried about, we're already seeing these things already taking place around the world in places that are highly compromised, like Canada, or highly corrupt, like China. Well, I guess there's corruption everywhere, right? Something I always say is, when politicians, people are arguing, they're saying, oh, that person's corrupt. Oh, no, that person's corrupt. First of all, they always tell you what they're up to because they project. So everything they're accusing someone of, to me, it's already like, okay, I suspected you were doing that. Now I know because you're projecting that. The other part is that people just say it's not true. They don't truly not like corruption. They just don't like that person's corruption. They like their own. And that's true for whatever party, whatever group. It happens everywhere. I see it among the saints or members of the church. I see it among Republicans. I see it among Democrats. I see it among everybody, right? People just pick and choose, right? And anyways, so the theory about these aliens is that there is a biological and crashes with biologics taken. Thing is they want to make this sound like it's alien because it's more interesting and it sells to the people. And in reality, what it could be is just getting to like in a closed session, you can disclose certain things of a security nature. Like, for instance, it could be, yeah, we know that the Chinese were genetically modifying, animals to pilot a type of vehicle, or something like that, right? And we do know that the Chinese have been highly experimental and unethical. After World War II, during World War II, you had experimentation in Japan, you had experimentation in Russia and Germany. All this stuff that was done by doctors torturing people, doing things, just the worst things, opening people up, seeing what would happen, and then testing. Guess what? We took all that information and we're like, oh, that's very interesting. We're going to use it. So, as awful as that was, our country still took that information and applied our knowledge that we gained from that. Now, think about that in the days of Noah, how you have fallen beings using information, sharing knowledge with people. That's probably, I'm not even going to go to that. But did that pique our interest in a shadow group within the government that's not really being ran by actual voted on lawful leaders of our government? Some kind of small clique that you got a general that does a recovery operation but then hides that information. Think of it like, what was it? Spider-Man Homecoming, when that contractor recovers the alien technology and they had to turn everything over, but then they realized that they still had some left over and he made a freaking eagle suit out of it with alien tech. All right, now imagine a subgroup of high elite officials, military folk, or even military industrial complex, Skunk Works, Northrop Grumman, all those groups. You would imagine that they would hold back the best of their tech for themselves. So here's the thing, the interactions that pilots have had, they said that they've had 11 near misses. So no one's really been hurt or killed. Then they also, with the Navy, they said, have we ever engaged with these things? And they said no, and that they've never engaged with us. So is this a lie here, or does it shed a little bit light on back in, where was it, San Diego or the coast of California, World War II? There was lights in the sky and firing. The U.S. started firing shots everywhere, and there's a lot of collateral damage and deaths of civilians from it. And it scared people half to death, but they never even hit their target. And they said that was a UFO experience off the coast of California around World War II. So that would mean we have fired on something, because that's a historical event, and it was just, we don't know what it was. So either we do know what that one was and we just haven't disclosed that yet, or he's only thinking recent history, or he just didn't know about that. That's all possible. But the nature, when these politicians, congressmen would ask questions, they made them, it was very broad questions. And so because of the things that these guys have investigated, they can't give a conclusive or definitive answer, because some of it is foreign adversary stuff, other stuff is unknown, and so there's a distinction that needs to be made. And then certain distinctions have to go to a closed session. So things like, were the biologicals of human nature? No, they were not. And they'd say, can I get some more clarifying information on that? And they said, in a closed session, right? So does that mean it's the U.S. or, someone using a monkey to pilot something? Because based on the way they answered, it could legitimately be known things that we knew about, or we could say foreign adversary, or even foreign technology, or even extraterrestrial technology, if it included elements of like a meteorite within, the metallic nature of the structure, or if it was an animal that was piloting it, or if it was automated but it had a biological presence on it, like a mouse. The other thing is that there's been a lot of genetic testing, a lot of human trafficking associated with this stuff. And so is this a, one thought people have shared is that we are making the aliens, that we have experimented and done awful things and have grown different things and made an alien type presence, or a biological being that can breathe and everything, but probably has no consciousness. But what they could do is measure its ability to live through something, or its ability to experience certain aspects of inertia, or to record data. And this experimental stuff with trans-dimensional things. So the other part is saying, well, it could be from a distant galaxy or something, but it's trans-dimensional, as in space and time fold, and it steps through, or it gives a projection through space-time, and that it's not physically there. They've offered all different types of theories, and so in the oversight committee, the guy being in question will say, I can't give an exact thing because there's, like hundreds of different scenarios that we have encountered. Some are like this, some are like this, some are like this. I can't categorize all of them, that definitively right here. I don't have the numbers, but we are looking into all different possibilities. So where there's an unknown aspect, there is they have theoretical ideas of what it could be, and so they leave it to unknown. So that probably doesn't make any sense. But we do know that all these things are happening. All these signs in heavens are happening very quickly. We know that Satan is trying to gain his greatest amount of power because he knows that his time is short. And so what would be the biggest manifestation he could? What if he could appear as an angel and give people a technology? If Satan exists, or if Satan could, would he not find a way to break that barrier or that dimension, that veil of life and death, or the spiritual and non-spiritual, spiritual and the physical, try and cross over on that realm to some extent, and do so where he can introduce technology, things that people could turn to instead of God, things to combat God in a way, because if he's losing a spiritual battle, then he's probably going to try and turn to another aspect. I don't know. It may not be anything. I know that people like Michael Rush and his Alien 10 Lost Tribes thing, to me, gathering the 10 Lost Tribes on the four corners of the earth, that's missionary work. That's what we're doing. Gathering from the four winds or four corners of heaven, that's temple work. We're literally gathering them from heaven. So to me, that's what that is. And when they talk about the ships of Chittim that will come, and they introduce these are UFOs and things like that, to me, I think of, the ships of Chittim. That's very interesting. I know that the Ark of the Covenant was made of Chittim wood, right? And so part of me was thinking, is this just a covenant people come over on the grand ship Zion that we talk about so much, or that Elder Packer used to talk about so much. Was it Packer? Yeah. And how it comes from the land of the north. Well, when I think of north, I think of the North Star. In fact, we have Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, in association with the North Star on our Salt Lake Temple. And Jacob, when he gives his blessing and is speaking with Joseph, he takes Joseph's hand and puts on his thigh, which super weird, right? But on the thigh is where you typically keep your dagger to defend your home, family. You're the patriarch, also for sacrifice. And so it's a covenant, it's a protection covenant thing. And so you put your hand on that thigh. And the Egyptians had a huge tie-in with this. The Ursa Major was the thigh of a cow, the leg of a cow. And they could use it in marking dates, times, but it had much greater meaning for them as well. The way I look at it is that it's a sign of the covenant, because the thigh is the marker. Essentially, it helps you identify and find the North Star. The North Star is the constant, the undeviating thing. So I look at that as in association to keeping covenant. or having covenant. And so it makes me think everything to do with covenant, Ark of the Covenant, the ships of Chittim being, the covenant people coming. These are the saviors on Mount Zion. We're told, many of us in our patriarch blessings, that we're saviors on Mount Zion. Like, this is literally why we're here, is to gather scattered Israel. I mean, well, what else matters in comparison? Food is pretty good, but that's my thing. So whether God does use some form of thing, we know that they've crafted the Liahona, right? And that he does things. And how would ancient people identify what something looks like? If God is an exalted man, does he also have chariots still? He gave a Liahona that has writing changes on it. So there's craftsmen. So I think if he does use crafts, because he builds a city, right? He has a throne. And that it's not just a symbolic thing, but there is actual literal purpose to it, an authoritative thing. Are we literally surrounded by life on the moon, sun? I know Jared's talked about this too. I've thought about this before, is when death was really introduced with Adam and Eve. I wonder if it's because the veil was rent from their eyes. So it's, even if somebody died, it's not really like they died, because they could still see through the veil. But did they create that veil of separation when they fell? We know that no angel can minister on this earth save they've been born to this earth and have lived to this earth or will live on this earth. So what is that to mean? I used to think that, like, physical angels that came there either from the city of Enoch, or they were from maybe like God's generation, previous generation, and those were mortal angels which serve him, or immortal angels. But I don't know. If it was on this earth, we know that there's many creations which have happened on this earth. One day the lamb and the lion will lay down together. I mean, we went from dinosaurs to mastodons and all these crazy creatures like giant sloths, right? So it seems like a pretty deadly place. But things have gotten a little bit more cute over time, friendlier, nicer, tame. And I wonder if that's like a natural consequence of that, or if these are just a series of various different creations. And this is matter. It's not really organized. It's been broken up. Let's reorganize it into new earth. Then continents and things have been called, earth, land. So there's lots of just things, and I don't mean to confuse anybody. I'm just pointing out all those different ideas and thoughts that have been out there. We know that the host of heaven, that 1/3 part who followed Satan, they were cast to the earth. Was Orson Hyde, one of the journals of discourses, where they said that this is the earth where we're going to stay. Like, that we're not going to some far off star, where we are going to stay here. And I thought, I wonder if that's why we don't listen to so many of the journals of discourses anymore. Maybe that's John Taylor. I think it was John Taylor. But for all we know, these other planetary areas are simply veiled from us, and the type of glory, we are simply in our own bubble The Earth itself has a magnetic field and everything, atmosphere, everything that's just holding us in. It's our little cocoon of things. If that was stripped away, man, gone. In fact, I think our magnetic field gets stripped away temporarily when we have a polar shift, which is something, if you've ever read the highly redacted CIA document about Adam and Eve and creation and how everything will be destroyed, which matches a lot of our stuff. It kind of makes you go, okay, there's some natural ways that things will happen. I don't know. All different types of possibility. Does this Earth keep going on the same trajectory, but what changes is the veil in which we reside in? Do we simply, in like walking through the veil, our spirit passes through birth and through death? Would entering into a terrestrial existence would be the soul, the body, and the spirit? I don't know. Definitely interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I know that it sounds like from this oversight committee, people are saying that we have no way to combat these aliens or these unknown phenomenon. So we need to work really hard and put a lot of energy in getting people to come forward and talk to us so we gather more information, and then so we can get more funding for our programs to fight this boogeyman space battle. Thing is if we were a threat, they would have wiped us out. The big thing that they focused on was these guys highlight our nuclear capabilities. NASA denies stuff, everybody denies stuff, but it's the military. The military runs into this stuff a lot. Well, military wants more money. They want a way to unite people in a common threat, false flag operation. If they already recognize we could threaten nuclear war all we want, because these UFO things have turned off our nukes multiple times now. Like, we almost accidentally started a third world war, nuclear warfare, and one of those UAPs, boop, stopped it. Or wouldn't allow us to launch. So all this thought of like, yeah, this is a threat to national security, bull crap. The people are a threat to national security. It's because we're not a peaceful people. Perhaps they're not waiting for us to build up our technology so they can combat us on better grounds or higher grounds or more even grounds. It's more like, when are these guys going to be peaceful? What the heck is going on? For all we know, the UFOs are people who live a terrestrial existence that found a way to break through that barrier to come and observe and watch. They're like, there's a single creator. These guys were made after his image. I want to check this out. But yeah, we're not allowed to interact with them. So we'll just push. But now it's like, oh crap, they're getting us. Now, first off, we know that of all the worlds created, this one is the most wicked. So I don't think we have to fear people destroying us or people being more evil than us. I think what we need to do is just be a peaceful people. That's literally, that's the simple answer is, yeah, these guys, because if there is a phenomenon going on, you know what? That's very interesting. I guarantee you they're not going to talk to us if we're all fighting all the time. I wouldn't want to talk to people who are fighting all the time. That pisses me off. I don't want to deal with that. But what I'll do is, if they get to a point where they're just going to destroy themselves, I'm going to take the peaceful ones out and let them just destroy themselves. Yep. In fact, if you've been watching, Jared did a wonderful video today about a meteor or comet coming through that brightened up like 10 times its brightness, and it's coming in that middle of the Tav and Olive, you know, the beginning and last, those solar eclipses. Now, what's really funny is I grew up in Southern California, and we got evacuated a lot. Now, there's some houses, and I did wildland fire too, but never had to deal with this aspect of it. But some houses get checked out first. You see how many people are inside the house, and you do half an X, mark how many people are inside, and then you say, this house is most likely going to get burned up. You know, based on how the winds may change and your proximity, we may lose this whole neighborhood. So you're being marked, pack your things, get ready to evacuate as soon as you can. And then when they do evacuate, you complete the X, you do the other half. And so they just, sometimes it's just a spray painted red X because it's so fast. You're like, we didn't predict those kinds of winds. Hey, get out now. It's time to go. Well, look at what that Tav. First thing it made me think of is like, well, I mean, I thought about this a long time ago, and then I saw that other people have seen the same thing, and they had huger studies on this. And I'm like, cool. I wonder what they have to say. They had 10 times more stuff than I had, and to me, it was just that's why I love YouTube, is finding a lot of other people who are studying the same thing you are, and it's really validating and comforting. But just look at the fireman's X. It's marking the household, and it's saying, look, you have to go. Now we have an X coming over Adam on Diamond, nearly, or at least the center of the US. And then you have another one happening in the Middle East, 7 years later? 7 years ago was the start of it, the half. We've been told, be a peaceful people, be a peaceful people. Be peaceful people. Yeah, if there was a rapture style event, like evangelicals like to say, I guarantee you the Lord's not going to want to take us if we are holding contention for our neighbor. Would we really like see somebody go up in heaven and just go, that guy? Really? That guy's a prick. And then all of a sudden, I know, take me. Like, I'm sorry. It's too late. There's a time. No, I don't think it would happen like that. But still, we have to be a peaceful people. That's what it comes down to. We can contend without being contentious. Do this all the time with Christians who tell me I'm going to hell. Say, oh, okay, that's nice. But hey, what if God invited me to join him up in the cloud? Would you have any kind of reservations about that? Would you want to, tell him that maybe he made a mistake? Or would you be okay with that for me? I'd be okay if it was with you. I'm passing no judgment on you. But I would admonish you not to pass judgment on me or others, lest you be judged with that same condemnation that you've placed upon me just by parroting the same old things of, this is why I hate Mormons. I'm like, and another thing, don't call me Mormon anymore. Anyway, it's the end of the day. I've been feeling kind of sick. I've had 1,000 things break down today and go wrong. Lost my temper like 13 times just with everything falling apart. So sorry this is a little discombobulated and probably not very fluid, but I hope it is interesting and thought-provoking and comforting if you can find it. I'm not trying to scare anybody. Just be a peaceful people. Me too. Be peaceful people. Take care.